Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Seems like we had a connection problem the first time. Let's do it once more. Let's continue what we just started, and please accept our apology for this connection. Let's wait once more for our audience and for our precious guest, Kris and this. All right, so Kris is here. Okay, so Kris, where were we? Hi, hi again.
Hi. So I'm not sure where it cut out on you. I don't know what's going on with the video today.
It's just a problem. It's just a connection problem. But anyway, that's okay now. All right. So yes, you were explaining something.
Did you hear about this?
Yes.
Yeah. And so this structure leaves you with about a 5, a band 5. My camera's backward.
Oh, band 5.
Yes, for your task achievement and your cohesion and coherence score, it'll be a 5. And so even if you get a band 8 for your vocabulary and a band 8 for your grammar, it balances out at 6.5. And so if you look on like your website, I'm sure, and everybody else, it's always got people complaining that they scored band 7 or band 8 in speaking and in reading and in listening, but in writing they got 6.5 or 6.
People know that writing is the most challenging component in the whole exam, right?
Yes, but it's not their English that is their problem.
Yeah. I believe that the writing is not a big problem as long as you get yourself evaluated. Because most of the people think that, well, I've done the exam once, twice, thrice, and maybe 4 times or more. And their main point and their main concern, Kris, please, I ask you to turn your, yes, please. No, the other way, the other way. This is upside down. Yes, that's it. Okay.
Has it been sideways the whole time? My goodness.
Pardon?
Have I been sideways the whole time?
Yes.
Oh.
No, this. Okay. No problem. So my point is that whenever you have something wrong with your writing and you feel like, or when you see that your writing component is the least component you get, you want, my advice to you is to seek a professional's advice. Professional's advice is the best for some reason, which is you want to be able to assess yourself, evaluate yourself, give yourself some recommendations as well. Someone who is more efficient than you, especially someone who's more efficient than you, must do this evaluation assessment as well. Especially that, you know, when you seek a professional's advice, they usually tell you about a certain template that you must follow for every genre. We all know that, for example, the letter's formula or template that we should follow is totally different than writing persuasive essay, for example. Some people think that, well, whenever I have an idea, then I'll have to write this idea professionally, maybe with a good grammar, good vocabulary structure, but they don't know about how to write it. They don't know what punctuation is, paragraphing, what is the most important ideas to write, what should be written in introduction, body, conclusion, and so on. They mess all these points. That's why I'm asking, and I recommend, I actually ask you all, or all those who have a problem with the writing section, kindly seek a professional's advice. Kris, would you like to add anything to this?
Just that you are absolutely right, Hen. Absolutely right. But I would say that it's not necessary to get every single paper that you mark or every single paper that you write corrected. Just like if you're practicing for music or for art or something like that, your teacher gives you a point that you should work on. And so write 5 or 6 essays and take the 6th essay back to the teacher after you've had time to train yourself and improve your skills. To just be told a point and then to go and write it one time and take it back, you've had no opportunity to improve that skill yet.
I totally agree with you. Okay, that's fine. Let's move to question 3. Are you ready, Kris?
Go ahead, go ahead.
From your own point of view, what are the most important skills needed for the speaking test? Because most of the people, oh, sorry, for the listening test.
Okay.
I'll say you're done, all right?
The listening test is 60% reading skill. And so,
okay.
First you do...
Listening, reading skill.
Absolutely.
You mean that related to each other, right?
Yes, these are the receptive skills.
All right, so explain more, please.
Sure. And so, as you know, Hend, we've got the 2 types of skills. Receptive skills, which means information coming from the outside into our minds. And so we do this through listening and through reading. Then we've got our productive skills, which is information out. And so that is your speaking and your writing. And so with the receptive skills, the model for both of the listening and the reading is the reading skills. The textual analysis, your logic, and your skimming and scanning. You should be doing these same things with your ears while you're listening as you do with your eyes when you're reading. And so just like on the speaking test, or sorry, just like on the reading test, you should not be reading every word for understanding. On the listening test, you shouldn't be trying to listen to every word and understand every word. You should be listening for transition signals and things, and then you know the place where you need to listen closely. And in the between times, you are analyzing the next question in the series. And so I'm using it like the movement of a frog. I jump ahead of the audio. I jump ahead, and the audio will catch up to me, and while I'm listening for the transition that's telling me the next question is coming, I'm using my reading skills to analyze the next question and anticipate what the answer is going to be. I hear the transition signal, I start closely listening. I hear the answer, I jump ahead again. And as the tape is coming, I'm using my reading skills and my analysis to anticipate what the question is. And so that's the proper technique on the reading test, or sorry, on the listening test.
Okay, I agree with you, Kris. And mentioning the skim and scan skills using your ears as well. We usually do this in the reading. All the people are familiar with skimming and scanning, the most important skills needed for the reading part, but maybe it's the first time for people to listen or to hear about skimming and scanning using your ears.
Yes.
Let me illustrate something, a very important point here too. Jumping from one point to another doesn't mean that you get distracted in between. The listening exam needs a highly focused person who is not skipping a single word while listening, focusing on certain information that you need to listen to in order to fill in the spaces. Doesn't mean that you get distracted by thinking about other things. I totally disagree. I know that you don't mean so, but I just wanted to illustrate this for people who might think that, well, I got the point, then let's move to the other thing. Yes. And I tell my second question, let me think about something which is totally out of my world.
Right.
Please do not be distracted and stay focused, especially during the listening exam. One more advice that I would like to give to all the females, because you know, Kris, in the Muslim world, as you may see, we all wear hijab, all right? And this hijab always cover the head. For the ladies who take their exams in the British Council, they usually use headphones. So one more advice, I know it's not academic at all, but it's very practical one. For those who are wearing the head scarf, kindly make sure you wear a thin layer, not a thick one, so that you get you can easily listen to whatever is in the listening exam. Okay? Yes. More tips about the listening, Kris?
Actually, Hend, I've got a question for you, if you don't mind. I'm interested in how you teach vocabulary. Everyone always
Oh,
asks me about their methods for teaching vocabulary, and so I'd like to
oh,
know what you do.
believe me, there are different millions of teaching vocabulary, okay? And people are usually complaining because whatever vocabulary they learn, they feel like, oh my God, I couldn't. However, I memorized the word quite well. I know its definition. I know it's part of speech. Which part of speech does it belong? But in the same time, I forget to use them. So the main important technique used in teaching vocabulary, Kris, is to use these words daily. So whenever you're giving a vocabulary lesson, okay, let's talk about the health issues, for example. Health vocabulary, whatever we had, nouns, verbs, prepositions, or whatever is related to this topic. I just ask my students, all my students, to one, try to know quite well which part of speech is this word. All right, and as we all know, we have 8 main parts of speech. All right, would you like me to say them? Hey guys, would you like me to say them?
Go right
Okay.
ahead.
They are nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, interjections, and conjunctions. All right, these parts of speech are very, very important to know. Why? Because if you knew which part of speech is it, it would be really easy for you to put it in a sentence, to put it in a context and in an understandable one. Okay? So this is the first thing that you should learn. Number 2, you should have a dictionary which you can use in order to find the definition of the word that you're seeking, its meaning. All right? And I recommend the Merriam-Webster dictionary if you're using your mobile or your whatever PC or whatever, or Oxford Dictionary if you want to have a hard copy. All right? Both are excellent, and for Merriam-Webster, I recommend it for many reasons. There you can find not only definitions, you can find definitions, synonyms, antonyms, words in context, examples for each word, which is really helpful for English learners. All right? One more thing, which is try to put this word that you've just learned, read it in the context, and you yourself try to put it in a sentence. That would be great if done. And after this, please again try to find someone who is more professional than you or who's better than you. It could be your brother, your sister, wife, or whatever, your spouse, whoever is better than you, and let him or her have a look at what you've written so that they can evaluate your sentences. Later, and one of the most important things too, is to practice using them in your everyday English. Everyday English means like whenever you have, if for example we all know that we should assign a certain time for especially for the IELTS test taker, you should assign a certain time during the day to practice speaking, even if you're speaking to yourself in front of the mirror. In this topic that you're going to choose to talk about, kindly make sure to use these words, okay? To include them in your own dictionary, in your own words that you're usually using, so that they get fixed in your head. Because some people, Kris, some people who are very familiar with many vocabulary words and very high range of vocabulary, and whenever it's the speaking test, they get shocked, they get taken by the question, and they forget everything in just a while. They forget everything because they are stressed out and they cannot focus and concentrate. My advice to you is that if you practice well, and if you know how to use these words in your everyday English, that would help you to memorize the words once more in your test, in your speaking test. Kris?
Excellent.
Would you like?
Excellent. Yeah, just to add a little bit, in teaching education, we learn that there are 8 modalities, 8 ways that people learn things. We've got visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, by action, all of these different ways. But it doesn't mean that each of us only has 1 or 2 of these ways. We all have the 8 of these ways. And so these are like connections in our minds. And so if you only use one way to study a vocabulary word, you only make one connection. But if you speak that word and you write that word and you read that word and you sing that word and you play that word, now you have 8 connections to that, and you remember it, and you remember the context, and you remember the situation that it's in. And so it has a place in your mind. Or thinking about a bookshelf, it has a proper place on that bookshelf now. And so when you go to recall it later, you can recall it easily, and you recall the associated vocabulary and situations along with it. And so this is the most efficient way to remember and categorize your lexicon.
Sure, yes, I totally agree with you. That's why, you know, a good tutor or a good teacher is usually using all these ways of teaching, all these methods of teaching, not only depending on words to be repeated or written on the board. As you said, you can play songs, even for adults, even for grown-up learners. They also love this way of teaching, and they feel like really excited to these kinds of, you know, active learning.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, if it's boring.
So you can put them in poems. You can use them in topics to discuss. You can use them even in listening topics or oral discussions that might go between them, between all the students in front of you.
Exactly.
Okay, Kris. It took so long today, right? Sorry guys if it took so long from us, and sorry for the problems that happened at the beginning, technical problems that happened at the beginning of the video. Kris, I would like to thank you very much. It was an honor to meet you today, and I urge you please to repeat this meeting once more, all right?
Yes.
To answer, hey guys, have any questions, please don't forget to put all your comments on this video, so that next time, inshallah, my interview with Kris, we will be answering all your questions regarding the IELTS exam. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kris, very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.